AI is everywhere in the headlines, and you all are using at least some level of Gen AI. So the question really for the panel is, what's the difference? What are we now seeing in functionality which is different from 2 years ago?
I think what's really changed is the chatbots, being able to communicate plain language with an AI or a computer and get quick results with a large database of data set that can connect to the questions that you're asking. So it's really opened eyes, and that's really what I think a lot of people are seeing as AI, even though AI has been around really since the 1960s. In one form or another, it's really being able to interact with the computer in a more natural manner.
I'll just add, specifically in the space of generative AI, we're seeing a real explosion and improvement in the quality of image processing, image generation, and video generation. It allows people to create things and get that sort of expert, almost guidance, iterative guidance to build content that they couldn't otherwise create on their own.
I think from my perspective, what makes right now AI different from the past is not just for technical person. Right now, any person can open their laptop and use it for their own process. And it's a kind of no-code platform right now that you don't need technical knowledge. You can use it for any part of your business. And it's so easy to use and make it different from the past.
Fair enough. No code and code for you, right? So. All right, so this is an Ask Us Anything panel, so we don't have any questions in Slido yet, don't be shy. But we also have a couple of mics in the room, is that right? Somebody raise their hand if they would just like to ask a question. Well, while you're working on that, I'll ask the next question. So you are, see, here we go, we got a word cloud. So business is the single biggest topic, so I'll start with that. What kinds of business applications are you already seeing people asking you about that you're working on?
Right now, most of the time, the requirement that we are receiving from our customers is more focused on automating everything that they are using and also bringing AI to their application. For example, if you have a CRM solution, you can add the segmentation using AI to your CRM and make your campaign more productive. Or if you are using ERP, you can bring the AI to that solution and make it more analytic. And these are the requirements that are more common.
I'll just add, just thinking about as your business, what are the busy work that your employees are doing? What are the things that are repetitive and take up a lot of time? There's opportunities to move a lot of that into agent-based AI responses to help the employees move quickly, but also keep in mind it's important to keep the employee in the loop, the person in the loop, because AI doesn't answer everything completely truthfully, even though it answers it confidently.
So we have a question here in the center. While that mic is going over, let me ask, probably Russell's the person to answer. When we're automating this busy work, how are we looking for mistakes in the automation or in the outcomes?
That's a good question. As Matt says, AI is not infallible. AI is subject to bias. It doesn't necessarily understand that the data is being fed or working on is outdated data, is incorrect data. So it is a large challenge to it's a human-driven process to basically make sure that the data is clean and to have those human guardrails, these AI guardrails around the data processing to make sure that the content is basically curated or inspected and understood to not necessarily be infallible. In my space, which is the sort of security space, I would say that probably the biggest challenge is making sure that people understand that information governance is critical to AI security. AI doesn't inherently necessarily have any security guardrails within and of itself. Your information governance posture really will dictate how successful you'll be with your AI solution and how good the data will be that you and the answers you get out of it.
Perfect.
The question is, should we be using these tools? What are the risks? Should our employees be using ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini?
I think the answer is yes. You should be using it, but you need to do it in a manner of understanding the data risks. Ensuring that what kind of data are you feeding it? Where are you feeding it? Are you feeding it to a public AI like ChatGPT or DeepSeek? Is there private or proprietary information you're sharing with that? Is there opportunity for leakage? So there is leakage, and there is what is called hallucinations, where you get bad information back because it's found matches or similarities between data, and it brings forward a very confident answer that's incorrect. And so understanding that those things exist is part of it. Also, there's private AI, so secure.
Yeah, and there are some great examples of what Matthew's talking about. We've seen a number of legal cases where attorneys have been fined or worse for using AI to write briefs without checking that the cases they're citing are real cases.
I teach masters and PhDs, but I work in this field. My question is, if organizations embark on going ahead, moving forward with AI as part of their organizational processes, what do you see as the board's responsibility in governance in the oversight and transparency of using AI?
I'll just start by saying, being sort of on the bottom here, we're a bit of a microcosm of a typical organization. You have the C-suite, got business analysts, and then the IT guys doing the actual implementation. What I look for from that is I need to understand from the C-suite the obligations, the regulatory, the legal obligations of the company. I want to understand what the risk tolerance of my organization is. I need to understand that as an implementer. If I don't understand those things as an implementer down the bottom doing security, it might not be right sized, it might not be fit properly. So that's what I look for, and that's where it really should start. What are my legal, regulatory, and compliance obligations? But then at a higher level, why am I doing it? I'll let Matt talk a little bit about why.
Sure. The why is typically opportunity, right? As businesses, what is the opportunity? What are our competitors doing? How can we be more productive? One of the big challenges Canada has is we need to improve productivity. That's the Bank of Canada has come out and say that. So where are the opportunities to improve productivity in a secure and managed way? What's the opportunity to help employees be more productive in their workday and move things forward? And what's the opportunities to discover and implement new solutions quicker, because AI is that tool in order to help you move things forward at a much faster pace.
I am doing, you can create an agent that will handle everything automatically. In agent, in tools such as Microsoft Copilot, you can go there and define the knowledge source for that agent and say you have this limitation to use this source of knowledge and do this specific task. It is so helpful for some repetitive tasks that you have, reviewing something, and for example, I'm using that for my own work to evaluate some of the document or do some screening, some simple tasks. You can trust it and define the rules and knowledge base and use it and make your time free for other things that are more valuable.
Yeah, and so I can just add to that is, so there's new tools every day, there's new opportunities every day. So if you think about like staff onboarding, for example, and that's the use case that Ella had just kind of talked about is you can onboard staff in their native language with a avatar that looks like someone in your organization. It could be the CEO, could be an IT director, it could be a team lead, but you can create create now onboarding videos that as they go through the onboarding experience, joining the organization in their native language as we deal with a diverse culture. So those are some interesting ways to use it.
DeepSeek. So that's an example of public AI. Public AI, well, there's a public AI instance that most people are familiar with, where you go to the DeepSeek website and you can interact with it there. The privacy implication of a public AI model is that the data that you upload or that you type into the interface is being used to train the public model. So you have that sort of privacy leakage there. It is possible, and not to pick on DeepSeek too much, there is a possibility, there's a capability to run a local instance of DeepSeek and erect barriers around it. But there's the oversharing element of it. There's also the concern that that data may be potentially going to a government entity. And I'm going to pick on DeepSeek a little bit here because I think it's fairly well understood that there is an association with it being in China, and that some of the data may inherently flow to entities within the Chinese government. So there's definitely a privacy concern about interacting with a public AI product like that. It is inherent, or it is important to understand where that AI operates, what its model is, and if you're really concerned about privacy, you should seriously not be looking at the public AI space and be looking more at private AI. Using an instance that you control, that you can erect barriers around. And I mentioned it before, if you're concerned about privacy, make sure your information governance house is in order. Make sure you have sensitivity labeling on all your sensitive data. Make sure that you have retention labels set correctly so that data that should be deleted is deleted and doesn't pollute the AI model. And that important data is kept where it is required for regulations or compliance.
And just from a personal perspective, don't upload sensitive personal information like social insurance numbers, credit card numbers, those kinds of things, because there's real examples of even ChatGPT, which is here on, it's not DeepSeek, but real examples of that data being sold on the dark web. So there is data leakage, and so you should protect your personal information in a controlled environment like a personal AI rather than a public AI.
What are we doing to protect young learners and their opportunity to do this busy work throughout all of these learning years so that they're continuing to develop the way that they have been with the perseverance and the work ethic? Like, where does AI fit into that? What are we doing? And I mean, is it a concern even from a business perspective when we now have these younger, kind of lazier workers coming into the work? I don't mean this generation, I mean like my kid generation. Using AI. Sorry, I didn't want the presentation on Tuesday.
I can say the lazy person most of the time are the smartest ones that find a way to solve the issue. And I'm kind of that person that all the time I'm trying to find something that I can get rid of some tasks. One of them is educating the new persons, that when you have a busy expert, they don't like to spend a lot of time on training the others, and you can handle some of them with AI. For example, giving them the process, the documentation that you have about the company, and provide them some agent that is accessible for them any time. They can ask a question. Right now we are doing this in Tecnet. We have an agent to train the process. When a new staff is asking, how can I create a new ticket for server incidents? How can I create a code for this? We are explaining the process for them, and then if they have any complex question, they can take the time of other staff to answering them. And in this way, we are giving them the policy and instruction of working technique that this is the structure. Every person should follow these rules to creating a ticket, to doing some tasks that we have. And I think in this way you can guide them and train them to know the basic thing, and then go to the expert to ask the question.
And I'll just add is I think as education evolves, it's important to AI into the education process to train the young generation on how to use these tools, but also the flaws with the tools, and help to grow them overall. I know that at UVic, if you're writing an exam in the computer science department, you're writing code in with a pen and paper, not with a computer. So those kinds of, if you don't put in the work prior to that exam, you're not going to do well, right? And so there's strategies, and there's also ways to detect AI responses. So more of those things are coming up. So if people are writing papers or getting AI to write their papers for them, they can be checked against an AI. Although the AI is getting better and better, and it's harder to detect, but that's what's helping society move forward and evolve so quickly. Is we put a new challenge in front, we come up with a new solution. We put a new challenge in front, and we come up with a new solution. So I don't think it is as a bad thing, because it pushes us further and further, faster and faster. To answer one of the questions was around the effect on climate. And so I think that's a really good question. Because as we're building these data centers, and we've heard about massive data centers in Alberta and across the country, these data centers take more energy and cooling requirements. And as we're building more and more, it's going to have a drain on our resources. It's a real sustainability challenge. 2024 was the year of the agent. 2025 or maybe 2026 is going to be the year of sustainability. As we start developing these massive data centers to deal with the AI need, we need ways to power, we need things to run cooler, we need hardware to run cooler, we need energy to be more efficient, and we need ways to cool things better. And I'm seeing that in the industry. When we talk about data center, there's like NVIDIA and Lenovo and other OEMs like Dell and etc. They're building their servers to be able to be cooled with warm water instead of cold water. So those kinds of technologies, as we, again, back to like evolving forward, the new challenges create new opportunities to create new solutions. And so there is definitely a concern about sustainability, but I believe that overall we will answer that call and bring new technologies forward to move these things forward.
Fair enough, I will say. For people who are looking for things, new ideas and new businesses, I'm already seeing a fair number of pitches and proposals to utilize energy differently, like a company that discovered there's a lot of energy loss right at wind farms, getting the energy somewhere, so building the data center next to the wind farm to gather what is currently lost. There's a lot of work in AI to actually work with smaller sets of data or lighter computations to do get the same kind of outcomes. So there's a lot happening, and nuclear. People are talking about nuclear power plants, all kinds of things. So it's a big business opportunity, entrepreneur opportunity, and U.S. customers can always look for it as well. With that, let me ask you to join me in thanking the panel.